Hey everybody, Joseph Rothschild here, aka Mono Bluetron, back with another episode of 10-Minute Testing. So, I had a really long weekend. On Friday, I went to the League of Legends World Semifinals at Madison Square Garden, which was fun. On Saturday, I had a friend's birthday party in New Jersey, so I had to take NJ Transit. And then on Sunday, I had friends and a cousin from my hometown come up to visit me. So as a result, I spent about 3 days on subways and trains. And one of the things I like to do on public transportation is play the Yu-Gi-Oh! Dual Generations game, because it doesn't take a lot of battery and it doesn't need data for you to play. And one of my favorite decks from that game is Pegasus' Relinquished build. Now, Relinquished is an archetype that I always really liked, but once they banned the Vanity's Djinn and put Preparation of Rites to 1, there wasn't a lot left for it to stand on. I've always wanted it to have legs, and with the release of Pre-Preparation of Rites and Kaiju, I think I've finally got a build that's at the very least playable. So let's jump into deck edit and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So this is a deck I'm tentatively calling Kaiju Relinquished. The purpose of a deck is to tribute your opponent's monsters for a Kaiju, then suck them right back up with Relinquished, effectively making two really big beaters, which hopefully will be enough to overwhelm your opponent. There's a lot to unpack in this list, so I'll kind of go card by card and let you know what we're playing. We've got 9 Kaiju, all of the 8-star ones, so that we can support playing trade-in. 3 copies of Djinn, Demolisher of Rituals. He's the second best Djinn, and a poor substitute for Vanity's guy, but he's probably good enough. Prevents your Relinquish from being targeted by your opponent's card effects. Not really as good as destroyed or targeted, but I'll take what I can get. We've got 1 copy of Tour Guide to make sure that we always have access to this card in our graveyard. 3 Battle Faders, very, very good card in this deck, very necessary. Allows your opponent to take their turn, put monsters on their side of the board that you contribute for Kaiju. It's 1 star, so you can use it for the condition of Relinquished Tribute Summon. It effectively draws you a card because it stalls them out for a turn. Really, really good. 3 copies of the Big Daddy himself, Relinquished. I don't need to tell you what this card does. 2 copies of Instant Fusion, because what would a Relinquished deck be without Thousand Eyes Restrict? We also have a Norden in here, just because, you know, Instant Fusion and Norden is good, although we can't make any rank 4s. We have 1 copy of Regeki, because it's good. 3 copies of Pre-Preparation of Rites to get those fatty +1s. 1 copy of Normal Preparation of Rites to get those fatty, not +1s. 2 copies of Trade-In, because these Kaiju are real cloggy in multiples. 3 copies of Interrupted Kaiju Slumber, because probably our best play involves playing Slumber, then giving our opponent a Dagoran, playing Black Illusion Ritual, making Relinquish, taking the Dagoran, attacking with Dagoran and Godarla for 1 billion damage. Then we have 3 copies of Black Illusion Ritual itself, 1 copy of Twin Twister. I tried to get more and couldn't support it. 1 copy of Vanity's Emptiness, the greatest card in the history of time. 3 Call of the Haunteds, because I want to be able to get back our Thousand Eyes Restrict, since it counts as a fusion summon. You can do that, as well as additional copies of Relinquished, and Call of the Haunteding Kaiju is actually pretty good. And we finally have 1 copy of Solemn Warning, because I have the biggest boner on earth for this card. In the extra, we've got some cards that are pretty good with Instant Fusion. Panzer Dragon, not great when we don't have CDI, but I'll take it. As far as Xyz go, we have Corbage to go along with Giga Brilliant, but aside from that, we've got Acid Golem, Nightmare Shark, Break Sword, Gram Pulse, Alucard, Leviair, Mech-Quipped Engineer, Dante, the one that we go into 100% of the time, and Slacker Magician in case we accidentally brick into multiple copies of Battle Fader. So that's the deck. Let's see how it performs. So in classic YGO Pro fashion, our first opponent is playing the Tier 1 meta threat, Solidarity Ojamas. He doesn't even have a copy of Ojama Magic in his 40. Come on. We're opening really well. We have a copy of Trade-In, we have a copy of Pre-Prep, we have the Relinquished, which will provide fodder for the stuff we get off of Pre-Prep, and we have a copy of Interrupted Kaiju Slumber. So I'm feeling really well. Unfortunately, we have to go first, which the deck really doesn't want to do. We're going to trade in our cards and then set a multiple of Interrupted Kaiju Slumber. If it gets destroyed, then we can banish it to add and then activate the normal Interrupted Kaiju Slumber. He, of course, is just going to do his Ojama thing and play a blue in attack mode. I will not allow that to happen and decide to slumber right now, make Relinquished, make Pegasus proud, beat in for 5,700 points of damage, and then we're going to go ahead and set this pre-prep that has no more targets in the deck. Our opponent, like every good player, has drawn all 3 Ojama Blacks, a move that I can only describe as not good enough, and we're going to go ahead and beat up that, and then beat up with the freshly swapped Dagoran. Now, our second round opponent is playing an actually good deck, Darklords. God, I am not excited for this to become meta. We've opened pretty well again. We have pre-prep, we have Interrupted Kaiju Slumber, and we have trade-in and a target for trade-in. We also have a Call of the Haunted, which is pretty good in combination with the trade-in. I'm feeling alright about it. So we're going to go ahead and fire off this pre-prep, go ahead and get relinquished pieces, and then trade-in, hoping we don't draw the pieces that we pre-prepped for. We draw a second copy of Interrupted Kaiju, and he Twin Twisters. I was like, yes, this is why I set this card. He's going to play Adia and then get Adios, and I'm like, I could solemn at any point here, but I really need him to have a target for the actual Kaiju cards so that I can, you know, activate it in the first place. So I'm going to go ahead and activate it, banish the other one in order to get one in my hand, use Relinquish effect to add the Dagoran to Relinquish, and then start attacking. I'm feeling pretty good at this point, pretty in control of the game. He's going to go for the Adios, I know. This is something I can solemn, so I'm going to do that now, and he doesn't have another way to get a 2 tribute monster out, so we win the game. Our third match is up against Winter Witch Speedroids. Dear God, I hate this deck. If I had a nickel for every time I get completely blown out of a game by Winter Witch Speedroids, I would have enough money that I would no longer have to make Yu-Gi-Oh! Videos for a living. We've opened for the first time a Tour Guide from the Underworld, which means we might actually get to use the Djinn this game, which would be pretty nice. We've also opened the best card in the game, Yu-Gi Boy. Try Synchro Summoning with Vanities out. So we're going to go ahead and make Dante, I guess. We put him in attack mode because I'm bad, because of a bluff, and we're gonna set this Vanities. He's gonna go ahead and lead with these Speedroid Takaton Borgs. When he makes the second one, I'm like, okay, time for Vanities, and that's the end of the game. Unfortunately, we can't use Dante's effect because it makes Vanities die, so we're just gonna sit on him for a little while. Another unfortunate prospect is that we have to destroy this Vanities in order to actually play the game. He's gonna notice our Dante. That's fine. 1,500 points of life that I don't have to worry about anymore. The Vanities is now dead, so we're going to pre-prep and Interrupted Kaiju Slumber. Fun fact, you can solemn Interrupted Kaiju Slumber. Still, we have enough Kaijus in our hand to effectively do it anyway. We're going to make Thousand Eyes Restrict in order to take his last blocker, make Relinquish to take the Godarla, and get in for lethal. So we're back with a deck. I mean, I thought it was pretty good. At the very least, I think it would make Pegasus proud. If there's one card I think was a little suspect, it was the Djinn. He wasn't particularly good, certainly nowhere near as good as his Vanities brother. Ugh, I hated running 3 because it seemed a little cloggy. You really only want to see it off of Tour Guide of the Underworld anyway, and even if you do get to banish it, it doesn't really matter. Relinquished was mostly dying to Regeki or nothing, not a lot of people playing single target removal. Additionally, the fact that you could use him as the tribute cost wasn't particularly relevant because we always had things like extra Kaiju or a stranded Relinquish that we got out of pre-preparation in our hand. So, you know, you take the good with the bad. Every other card in the deck was nuts. Instant Fusion was really good at clearing that last blocker in order to get our guys a big damage turn. Trade-In was never dead. I really, really liked it. Interrupted Kaiju Slumber was busted as hell, even at 3, even when we would draw 2 copies of the 3 in our deck. And, of course, any deck with Vanities in it, the MVP was, of course, Vanities. I really like this deck. It helps that it's really cheap in paper, so if it's something you want to play around with, feel free to go ahead. If you wake up at night because your Millennium Eye is crying Egyptian laser tears over the fact that Relinquished isn't tier 0, try this thing out and see how it fares. So that's that. I hope you enjoyed my shitty Pegasus impression. I hope you're proud of the fact that I made it through an entire episode about Relinquished without making one reference to the suck meme, and most of all, I hope you just enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to give me a like, a comment, or a subscribe. It really helps me out. And if you want to see me play the decks I make on this show on stream, I stream every Tuesday and Thursday from 9:30 a.m. to noon Eastern Standard Time on my Twitch. The link is below. And finally, if you want to see a certain deck or archetype played on the next episode of this show, let me know in the comments below and I will do my best to accommodate you. Otherwise, I will see you on Wednesday.